पर क्लिक करो वीडियो पर राइट नमस्ते जय श्री कृष्ण and very warm evening to one and all. As Dharma Samvad on Tuesday with the poster about the often we will have religious talk as well we're gonna have the different religious leader and the community member, those who gonna come and talk about you, will raise the voice, social issue, religious and cultural issue. We will bring the different people and provide a platform to speak about our dharma. As on Tuesday, I said it's a time now that our social media warrior, have to use their strength and reach out to the community and let the greatness of Hinduism reach to all the community members. Today we have divided show in two. One, we're gonna talk about Adhik Mas, and thereafter we have a topic on religious tolerance, where the very own Lakshmai Maharaj ji will be host that show. But before I carry on Adhik Mas, I like to add our Gopal Bhai ji Vyas, who gonna also join me for the Adhik Mas talk. So namaste Gopal Bhai, Jai Shri Krishna, કેમ છો?
જય શ્રી કૃષ્ણ. બસ મજામાં. કેમ છો? રાઈટ.
અમે સારા છીએ. So Gopal Bhai, as we have decided, many of you know that me and Gopal Bhai work together, the Jai Ho Radio, and now the Dharma Samvad channel for news, for the all the different subject bring to the community attention. Gopal Bhai is from East London, and we have worked so many years together, and we are still working together from far distance. Gopal Bhai, today is from the last day of the Shraddha Paksha, Pitru Paksha. We have a talk on the Pitru Paksha, beginning of the Pitru Paksha, Shraddha Paksha, and it was very good goodbye community. I think so almost 2.5k, over 2.5k people view, and many comments and emails came to me and said thanks for the providing all the information. Now similarly we again, as awareness, we brought this show for Adhik Mas importance. So can I start with you that explain to the community the importance of Adhik Mas? Like as I always tell people that to balance the calendar of our lunar month and the solar to Chandrama or Purnima or Amas, to balance that, align that, we always have every 32 month 18 days, 16 days, and then the 3 hours 8 Ghatika, the calendar of the Adhik Mas, the month repeat. Now you put some more light on that about Adhik Mas, what the people should do first. But what is Adhik Mas?
કૃષ્ણાય વાસુદેવાય હરે પરમાત્મને પ્રણત ક્લેશનાશાય ગોવિંદાય નમો નમઃ. Let us understand the Adhik month is. Adhik month is like we says month means Mas means month. Month means whole 1 month has been allocated to the our Hindu calendar called the extra month. In the it comes after a 3 years time of the period. So this is all about the calculation from the Panchang. Panchang means ke 5 ang. Tithi, Var, Nakshatra, Yoga and Karan.
Karan.
So when we say Panchang, so when we make our Panchang, so what we do, what the calculation happen with the Panchang? What is the calculation goes in? So okay, sunrise to sunrise. So sometimes some people leave into the month, okay, 12 o'clock midnight, I'm fasting now, Tuesday fasting I'm doing, and 12 o'clock midnight is done. Now let me break my fast. That is don't happen like that. So our Tuesday start from the sunrise to sunrise. So that is called the Vara. Nakshatra means stars. Tithi, that is a more important. So Tithi means ke when we in our Hindu calendar first 2 months, first half and second half. So from Ekam to the Purnima means ke full moon, that is the first half of the Shukla Paksh. Then another Ekam to the Amavasya, that is the Krishna Paksh. So that has been divided into two. So sometimes
So,
Tithi in the
so
morning.
Gopal bhai, let me say that Tithi is the date, as like people follow 1 to 30 January, 1st to 30 January, like that. In our Hinduism, the month divided in a two, and the Tithi, which is the date in Hinduism, called Tithi, and is go like Ekam, Bij, Trij, right?
Pratipada,
Yeah.
Dvitiya, Tritiya, like that.
Titiya,
So
that's a
what?
Sanskrit words.
Yeah, that's Sanskrit word. So what happened now? If somehow if you see in the calendar, like we recently had it, two Ashtami, Krishna Ashtami. We sometimes we say it's two Ekadasi. Sometimes there's no Ekadasi. Sometimes there's no Punam. So how come
Hmm.
that works? Because of the if the Tithi don't see the sun rise. So then there is no Ekadasi on a particular day, or there is a one extra Tithi. So when it's come to the accumulation of that all, one less Tithi, one extra Tithi, and when the 30 days come together, 28 days or 29 days, then we says this year will be the Adhik month. So Adhik month always comes in the second half of the year. Means ke it's come from after the Chaturmas, during the Chaturmas. So from
Ji.
June, July, between June, July till the November. So it start either Adhik Shravan, Adhik Aso, Adhik Bhadrapad. So why? Because the Sankranti is depend on the Sankranti. If the sun in
And the
Sankranti,
rare, very rare come Adhik Kartik, very rare,
yeah, very rare. It's like if have
very
to
rare.
have come then. Otherwise, it comes
Ji.
by this during these 3 months,
These 3 months,
Shravan, Bhadrava, and Aso.
also.
So this year is coming into the Aso months, means ke Ashwin month. This Adhik starting Ashwin month. Sometimes people says why didn't Navratri start just after the Pitar Paksh? Because
He's already
Adhik
asking.
came
Okay.
because of the Adhik came already after just after the Pitar Paksh is over and before the Navratri start. So that is called the Ashwin Adhik, Aso Adhik. Now Adhikasya Adhik. Adhikasya Adhik means ke whenever
Adhik.
we do in Adhik month, so Adhik Mahina ni andar, when we perform any spiritual activities, whenever we do the Dan karma, Punya karma, Jap karma, Shraddha karma, Shraddha, with the Shraddha when we pray Bhagwan Sri Vishnu by offering 1000 and Tulsi na Patra, we chant Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudeva mantra, we do the Bhagwan Sri Vishnu Yagna, we offer our faith and devotion, we pray to the Bhagwan Sri Vishnu. So Bhagwan Sri Vishnu, in depth, if I go, then this show alone will take 1 hour. So every month, as the every month have a Bhagwan. So this Adhik month has taken by the Bhagwan Sri Vishnu himself. Some people says this is called the Malmas. Malmas is had been given a name, but actually the real name is a Purushottam month. Purusha Uttama. Purush means ke Bhagwan Sri Vishnu is a Purush. Purush means ke Shrestha, great creator of the entire universe. So greater than the
Ji.
great Bhagwan has taken this responsibility in this month. So whoever worship the Bhagwan Sri Vishnu during this month, they get the 10 times more Punya karma benefit than the normal days.
Ji.
Like if I explain in a modern world, like modern language, where our youngsters understands. So every December, do you receive the 13th check? So you don't work, but you get the 13th check. So 13th check means ke 12 months you work, but on the 13th check you getting, you didn't work, but you got it. So Bhagwan also had it made it this arrangement for his devotees. Every third year, I will give you the 13th month and the 13th check. So 13th check is a
Next
bonus.
month
Bonus
to
is an
worship.
extra. So when we worship little in this during the month, Bhagwan Sri Vishnu gives a more than Punya karma than normal we get because this month is a called the sacrifice month too. So what we need to sacrifice from tomorrow? This is the last day of my clean shave. From tomorrow there will be no shaving will be happen.
Ji.
We can observe the brahmacharya too. So this is all is as we described. As I said, time is very little. So now Kirit Bhai will go into the details too, and then we will continue this matter too.
So thanks, Gopal. Bhai, so nicely put together. So here's three things: Malamas, which is extra month, or Adhik Mas, one extra month, which is come after the every 32 months, 16 days, and 8 Katika, which is 3 hours. Right. Dan, those who celebrating like after the Shravan message start on the social media. Now we will have all the things to eat. Now must remember after the Shravan, then the Ganesha, then the the Bhadrapada, which is the Pitru Paksha, and now we are in the Adhik Mas. So you have to wait another 1 month and observe as Guruji guided us to fast, be vegetarian, avoid all the unnecessary things, which is the drink and all. You mustn't have liquor and everything. Shravan month, you follow, observe the Shravan, similarly, Shravan Mas, we observe the Adhik Mas. Purushottam Mas, also, as Guruji said, very, very important month, Purusho Uttama. There is a story that said when Adhik Mas was there, Rishi said, but it's Adhik Mas, an extra month. People won't do any puja because it's extra month, Adhik Mas. So Bhagwan said, I give my name. Purusha Uttama, Purushottam Mas. Bhagwan Vishnu gave his own name as the Purushottam Mas. So this particular month is as important as Guruji said, highlighted, the 13th check. We have one extra month to do prayer and worship Paramatma. There is also story as the Hiranyakashipu when asked as a boon to Bhagwan that the not in the house, not outside the house, not at the evening, not at the day, you destroy me or give me the boon that this is the way I survive. And there he also asked not the 12 month of the our calendar, and therefore they said is also was Adhik. That is one of the story, but mainly as Guruji nicely put for the community that to accumulate those days when extra comes or align the Purnima and then Amas, we will have every 30 or we have every 32 months and some days on top the Adhik Mas. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya chanting, and then as Guruji said, you do 1 time is equal of 10 time. So do as much japa, observe the fasting, and then visit the mandir. As yesterday we have Ramaphosa, our president, open all the most of the things, and mandir also will have big not that big celebration, don't get excited, but yes, you can go visit and do the darshanam. Dan punya, Guruji, can you a little bit enlighten about the dan punya?
Okay, so what happened with the Dan Punya Karma? Before I explain about Dan Punya, I would just like to mention one thing. In these days, we're living in a social media world. So what happened now in these days, the social media guru also has been popped up in the social media. Like we call the WhatsApp guru. So everybody sit down in the morning and something comes in their mind and they type it and they just spread it. Now end up that people ask us, what is this and what is that? And sometimes we don't have answer because that is called the created story, which have a no scripture based evidence on that one. So I request to all my devotees and every viewers through all my channels to not believe anything what come on your WhatsApp group. Anything it's come from the proper channel, like if come from the proper personality who knows this actually significance, and if they
The
send a
guru, the
message,
swami, the pandit,
then
Panet Pandit, yes.
yeah, so yeah, guru, swami, pandit, or reliable resources, we have answered it. But if you send me like recently based on the dan, recently there is somebody like people asking me, okay, can I do the magnu dan or chokhanu dan? Or I read it somewhere I can't do the chanane dan dan. So that is nothing to do with the scriptures and everything. The dan is something which is you give
Do
with
from
your
your heart.
open heart. So whatever you give a cash, you give a grocery, you give anything with your clean heart, with your pure heart, with your good intention to the real needy person. Real needy person, if you give with that, like in our Dharma Shastra says you must give to dan to the Brahmin too, Brahma Bhojan. So you can give a Siddhu Dan, etc. too. But whatever you feel as an individual, if you want to give something to cash donations or the Shraddha, with your Shraddha, it is Shraddha, I always say, with your faith, whatever you give, but try to give only vegetarian things. Don't go into the priest house and give something which is they don't eat,
Yeah.
like a garlic,
Yeah.
onion. During this month, garlic, onion called the tamasic padarth. The most of priests they don't eat. So those kind of the things called create a tamas in the body, We try to not to give a dan, but whatever is a pure good in our grocery, we can give it to the dan too. You can give a clothing dan, you can give a kambal dan, you can give anything what you feel is helpful for somebody. That is called the dan. We must give it to during
Thank
this
you.
month. Yeah.
Thank you, Gopal Bhai. As always,
No.
very kindly. Today was last minute I have to ask because one of the Bhaiji from India is supposed to speak, but you always there, and we work behind the scene. So Gopal Bhai, thanks for that. Our next topic will start in a few seconds. They, as I said earlier, the social media play a vital role these days, and here I know one individual from the last few years who very aggressive, very enthusiastic when come to the Hinduism. He push what he feel, which is right, and I also somehow that support to that kind of attitude because our Hindu Dharma need to reach out to all the community. Our next topic is on the religious tolerance, well, hosted by the our Laksh Bhai Maharaj. Um, Laksh Bhai ji is the son of Pandit Vishi Maharaj and member of dynamic team of Hauteng Hindus. The team previously ran the website called maharajgroup.co.za. I was part of that website and I thoroughly enjoy all those posts. And then all the Pandit was there. And as a Hindu update, Hauteng Hindus don't just preach unity; they make it happen across all organization and with all language groups. Um, Hauteng Hindus work with any Hindu organization, but actively address those that discredit others. Hauteng Hindus is a strong force in educating and passionately practicing Sanathan Dharma and is linked to various similar entities worldwide. So, as I said, he is the one. The Lakshmaiji is very very active member for the Hindu community, and I asked technical team to bring the Lakshmaiji in, and
Namaste, Dhanyavad, Kiritji. All right, so thank you. All right, so what we are going to do, we are going to first introduce the participants in this group. The topic that we are covering today relates to
yes,
religious tolerance as applicable to South African law and also relating to religious practice in Hinduism. So first person that will be joining us is Sri Salisha Ji Maharaj, who is a senior attorney. Can you add them into the chat group?
Namaste.
Namaste, Salisha Ji. Go ahead. You'd like to say something?
Namaste, Bhaiji, and all our viewers. I'm really, really pleased to be afforded this opportunity to be here and to spread this love through my legal fraternity. So not only am I representative of the legal fraternity, but also my personal capacity and as a proud Hindu as well. So hopefully I can do justice to all the hats that I have on. And I'm really blessed to be part of this discussion and conversation this evening.
Thank you, Salisha Ji. I'd like to add into the set as well, Pakshini Gawanda. Pakshini? Namaste, Pakshini. Welcome to our chat group. Your audio does not seem to be operational. Can you just check your audio? Whilst you're checking your audio, I'd like to also add into our group Sri Kamalji Maharaj.
Namaste, Vanakkam, Namaskaram to all of you. I hope you can hear me.
Namaste, Pandit Ji. All right, so I have taken the effort to ensure that I have put your biographies everywhere on Facebook, so I won't go into the details of that. But I would like to start immediately given the limited time that we have. So let us start first off on the legal side. So given that most of us are coming from a basic background of not being legal persons, I think the first thing we'd like to know, in what way does the South African Constitution promote and protect religious and cultural rights?
Okay, to answer this, Bhaiji, I shall read and quote verbatim the South African Constitution and actually the preamble of that, which I think aptly addresses the question, and I quote, "We, the people of South Africa, recognize the injustices of our past, honor those who suffered for justice and freedom in our land, respect those who have worked to build and develop our country, and believe that South Africa belongs to all who live in it, united in our diversity. We therefore, through our freely elected representatives, adopt this Constitution as a supreme law of the Republic, so as to heal the divisions of the past and establish a society based on democratic values, social justice, and fundamental human rights. Lay the foundations for a democratic and open society in which government is based on the will of the people and every citizen is equally protected by the law. Improve the quality of life of all citizens and free the potential of each person. And build a united and democratic South Africa able to take its rightful place as a sovereign state in the family of nations." Bhaiji, I have read that verbatim so as to answer the question aptly of what the true essence of the Constitution was, to protect and also to respect each other's diversity. And that's why we are called the beautiful rainbow nation that we are. And to further elaborate, the Constitution promotes and protects it by giving regard to each person with the fundamental values as democracy, equality, reconciliation, diversity, responsibility, respect, and freedom. Now, I can elaborate on that from a legal perspective, but I think that answers itself of what this Constitution was put post 1994 in 1996 to give that respect to each of us, not just from a legal perspective, but from a humanitarian perspective, because we all do have this diverse cultural beliefs that is about togetherness, love, and for the best interest of each other. And finally, to just answer that question, the founding top 3 provisions in Chapter 1 is of human dignity, achievement of equality and advancement of human rights and freedom, and non-racism and non-sexism. So I think encapsulating that part and the essence of the Constitution clearly identifies what we as a nation suffered and what we wanted to redress through this supreme law, notwithstanding to all the viewers and people that are listening in and live streaming, that we have acts and statutes applicable to different parts, different circumstances, etc., and so on. However, the Constitution is a supreme law and the guidance that we all should be and need to be following. So that is how I don't believe it does respect and promote our culture beliefs.
Thank you. Pakshini ji, would you like to add to that?
Hi, I just wanted to know if my audio is coming through clearly now.
Yes, correct.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about earlier. Namaste to everyone.
Namaste.
Yes, just to add very shortly to that, Salisha has outlined beautifully the preamble and it's the cornerstone of our nation, the Constitution, and as lawyers, we're always, it's the first step to our legal education, and we hold it very dearly. For me, it's my Gita, then my Constitution. So those go hand in hand for me. And she's mentioned our beautiful founding principles, and not only do those principles speak to our freedom in terms of religious and cultural rights, we've also got specific provisions within the Constitution that dictates that each person has a right to enjoy their culture and practice their religion and use their language. So there are further charters and policies like the South African Charter of Religious Rights and Freedoms that have been developed from the Constitution and adopted by more than 91 organizations in our country, which also go on to dictate, and well, not dictate rather, but to guide us as to how we are to enjoy our rights.
Thank you, Pakshini ji. Are these rights restricted in any way?
So if any person were to pick up a copy of the Constitution, and I do encourage this, you would notice that the sections that I've spoken to, um, while they give us this right, they also give us a responsibility to accompany that right, in the sense that yes, we are allowed to use our language and enjoy our religion and practice our culture, but we are also not to infringe on another person's rights. Um, the Constitution also specifically states that no law may limit the right to any person outlined or any right outlined in the Constitution. And if this were to happen, it must be absolutely necessary, reasonable, and justifiable. And the courts must then apply and consider relevant factors when considering how these rights should be limited.
Okay. I'll go on to my next quick. Go ahead,
Just to
Saji.
further from Pakshini in terms of a landmark judgment in the Concord. And based on those limitations, actually, Chief Justice Langa did find that the Hindu culture, which we're speaking about specifically today, is inseparably intertwined with the Hindu religion. And he emphasized that both obligatory and voluntary practices qualified for protection under the Equality Act. The igniting of incense sticks, he went on to say, or agarbatti by Hindus as well as followers of other faiths is a healthy, harmless, ancient, and internationally accepted practice. It is made from natural perfume disinfectant and medicinal ingredients. We cannot and will not allow anyone to trample on Hindu sensitivities with relative impunity. So this is Chief Justice Langa in a landmark constitutional court judgment on previously. So as Pakshini has said, of course, and as any attorney will say, is based on the circumstances, and I could go on about it, but we have limited time, different points give rise to different circumstances and then outcomes. But I'm just speaking on that one of where it was seen by the Concord and acknowledged our Hindu culture and our practices.
Okay, thank you here. That's very insightful. Now, what are some of the considerations to bear in mind when you are practicing your cultural and religious beliefs in a public forum? For example, if there's loud sounds, there's smoke, there's strong smells, fire, etc. Please advise.
So in line with what I've just said and the Constitution and the fact that we live in this beautiful and diverse nation, notwithstanding that, I'm a senior attorney and a director, I also believe that we have this human courtesy and this humanness where we need to also not dig deep within. Sometimes we have to, but otherwise just be courteous to each other. There's also a lack of understanding that also gives rise to these emotions that are it's just a lack of education. And it's not malice or anything from another party. People haven't grown up with understanding a certain smell or a certain sound. And if we start integrating and understanding each other, we'll not only become tolerant, but we'll become appreciative and see that sound healing. It's not a noise. There's a vibration that carries through that is uplifting not only the family, but society as a large and the vibration of this earth. So in terms of answering that question, from a legal point in line with the Constitution, but also from a humanitarian point and a personal point, I think it's courteous. I have grown up and have been blessed to have grown up in a Hindu family with a deep lineage of Brahmins. So I've been bestowed with that understanding. However, some people don't understand it. So I think if we could take a second, if we live in close proximity to people, we also spread the love by sharing with each other and share the blessings to help people understand what you're doing, why you're doing it. Some people may say, it's not their responsibility, but I think in this time of togetherness, we all need to play our part. We need to assist each other, and in that way, we'll be helping ourselves. I know my dad, who's also a Pandit, had said pre-1994, he had worked with the fire department, and he actually had a pro forma for the Havans, our sacred yagya, which was for the safety of everybody. So perhaps we can reinforce that. But through generations and pujas that we've all done, families do take precautions. So it's more the understanding of the neighbors, of people understanding that this is to increase the vibration, the energy, to share blessings. And by doing that, it's not just one person or a family that's doing it is going to get the benefit, but a community at large. So I think if we can understand it, we'll actually have a better appreciation. And it's not even about tolerance, because that's also a harsh word. It's about engaging and sharing and feeling what somebody else is doing, vice versa, our culture and another. Once you're educated about something, you accept it more so, and the understanding of it.
Okay, Bakshini ji?
No, just to just add on to Silisha, you know, she has said something very important. Tolerance is indeed it's a harsh word when it comes to religion and cultural practices. I, as a lifelong devotee of Sri Ramakrishna, my principles and values, as taught by Master and Swami Vivekananda, have always been that of acceptance and not just tolerance. You should accept that there are these different paths that people follow to one God. So that is what I believe as well.
Okay. All right. If we have a dispute with your neighbor or any member of the public, and you've seen a lot of that in the press recently regarding certain practices and so forth, what
Yes.
steps should you take to resolve this matter before approaching the courts?
So notwithstanding that I'm a legal professional and it's where I earn my bread and butter, I would suggest that you don't take the legal route, because in that instance, it's unnecessary, unless it becomes really, intolerable. But initially, we're living with each other, where the next door neighbor is your closest person, is your closest protector, further than, say, for your family. So I personally believe that before you go through a court process, yes, there are dispute resolution mechanisms, and I'm an accredited alternate ADR dispute resolution mediator and practitioner. But even if before we get there, I think we've lost that communication approach where we can actually go to somebody and well, I don't say everybody's lost it, but to go and explain yourself, have a discussion and try and resolve it in a calm, collected and approachable manner. So I think that's the first point, a port of call. And not only is it from a kindness and a humanitarian perspective, but the law also, speaking, going towards the legal side, the law also looks towards that, so that matters are not flooded in courts. There are a lot of matters now with the lockdown as well, and COVID, we have virtual court, and only high court and certain matters are open, and it's mostly virtual. Magistrates court is, so it's flooded ordinarily, and now there is a strain on the legal system. So it's really important that if we can resolve stuff, we do. That's on one point. But on the second part, for our own well-being, it's much more cost effective to speak to somebody than also hire an attorney, and you having to live next to this person who you are maybe suing or taking to court. And it's that the bad vibration and energy of seeing the next door neighbor is not healthy. So we're not building a healthy society. The legal system is there when there are no alternatives to help and guide. It is not the first port. So if one can, it can be done in a much more cost-effective and a timeless manner. And that's why ADR these days, adjudications, mediations are also resorted to, so that we can do it in also a less formalistic approach, so people can actually talk to each other. So if they can't talk across the fence to each other, basically, then they talk in a room where we don't have so much of legal requirements. And that's the next step for mediation and adjudication, where people can actually speak to each other through a panel. So those are the alternatives. But my personal, if people can chat, and the courts also look towards that. They would like to see, when you bring an application through, how has this been attended to? So those needs, that also needs to be addressed. Have the parties tried to resolve it? The judge, magistrate, whatever matter it is, they do look towards that.
Okay, just for the matter of time, I'll jump to the next question then. What are some of the organizations, Pakshiniji, that you can approach to assist in mediating disputes regarding these religious and cultural rights?
There are various organizations and forums that can be approached to start with mediation and dispute resolution before you approach the court. But I do believe, as a Hindu, if it is a issue that stems from a Hindu practice, your first point of departure should be your community religious leader. That person should be equipped to help you resolve this matter amicably with the person that the offended party, or if you are the offended party. If that fails, and I do believe only if that fails, then you should escalate, and you could escalate it to organizations such as the South African Human Rights Commission, which is best fitted for these kinds of matters.
All right. And Salisha ji, what happens if you're not happy with the outcome and you feel that a court order is unfair?
So you normally would take it on appeal, on review, dependent on what application you've done. And there's a lengthy process in that regard. It's quite voluminous. It's very onerous. The reasons for taking it based on what the judge has said. So it's not as easy as just kicking up a storm and saying I'm not happy. It has to be based on sound legal principles. I'm just curtailing my answers because that is quite an involved process. So people should not just resort to it, willy-nilly. They have to take consideration. And in that instance, you get proper advice as well.
Okay. Now, often people ask, if the legislation, certain statutes or municipal bylaws, and that differs from your body corporate or homeowners association rules. So there's not consistency between them in relation to these religious and cultural rights. Which one must you follow? Which one takes precedence?
Like I had previously stated, your constitution states that no right of yours that is envisaged by the constitution can be arbitrarily limited for any reason or any law unless absolutely necessary. However, when a person purchases a property in a sectional title scheme or one that is subject to management by a homeowners association, usually when that happens, there are conditions of sale, or for instance, in the lease agreement, it would usually be accompanied by body corporate or homeowners association rules. And these rules need to be signed by you, and a copy is given to you so that you always are aware of what the rules are. And usually it is that you are bound by these rules. However, you may, if you find that these rules are inconsistent with your constitutional or other legislative rights, you may call upon as an owner, you have a right to call upon a special meeting where the body corporate would meet, the trustees would come and be involved, and you could then lobby to have the rule amended and ratified and then changed to become consistent with your existing rules.
Okay, and what if they issue me a fine for contravening something that's in their rules, and I believe it's a religious practice?
If this religious practice has grossly infringed on someone's rights or is against the rule of the body corporate that you've already signed, mind you, they are lawfully entitled to issue you a fine. A body corporate is a juristic body, and they are tasked by legislation to ensure the smooth running of a sectional title scheme, so that they are well within their lawful means to issue a fine to you.
To just add to that, Pai, so they also have to provide for it in their rules as well, that these are the measures that they're taking. So they can't unilaterally issue a fine of 500 or 1,000 and stuff like that. It would have to be part of that document to say that should you contravene, this is the route that they're going to take, or the penalty that will be issued to you, or else they also can't do that.
Okay, and if a person wants to lay a complaint in terms of whatever practices, should they lay a criminal charge or must they proceed with a civil lawsuit?
Okay, so if you're talking to the person and you've tried these alternative disputes and this still fails and the nuisance persists, then the police can then be called to enforce the letter of the law and the public policies to combat this combat against the nuisance. In some extreme cases, you will find people being arrested and criminally charged if they have failed to adhere to the letter of the law. However, and if that also fails and they're still persisting, and if this matter continues despite police being called numerous times, then that is something that you can institute legal civil action, a legal civil suit against a person for the persisting nuisance.
Yeah, so on that, the trigger needs to be of a criminal action for it to trigger a criminal court to have jurisdiction over that as well. So it's based on the actions of the parties of whether it's a criminal or a civil. So as Pakshini was just saying, it's the nature of what the trigger event is as well.
All right. Do you have any general advice to people that are listening on how to live in harmony and peace?
Pakshini, are you going first or am I going?
You go ahead, Salisha.
Yeah, sure. So I just want to say to everybody watching, I hope you had a blessed Pitar firstly. I did, and I'm really blessed to actually be engaging on this forum on the eve of the last day. And I think we shouldn't forget who we are, where we've come from, and like the Constitution said, remember the past. So don't let it live and rule your life, but don't forget what has transpired. And coming in line with our Hindu Dharma and our ancestors, they have fought hard and they fought with love, unity, community, and family. And we should not forget that. And that's what I hold strongly as not only an attorney, but a daughter and a Hindu today, communicating to everybody. I'm really blessed, and it's by no coincidence that we are all on this platform speaking to everybody out there because we hold this energy. It is important, and even the Upanishads say that I have been reading and trying to get into is this soul is but a grain of our existence. So we need to be conscious, not only for now and how we are living now, but for the future that is to come and how we are molding that. So it is important, like the generations that passed, that have toiled and have allowed us to be on this forum, to be on social media, to have a voice, to speak our truth, to have truths and have measures and standards. There's no standard of truth. I say there is the truth, but to be even able to be speaking here, we have the non-sexism. There's balance here of male and female, but the soul has no gender. So when we're taking this lifetime, which is a soul's grain of existence, make sure that whatever makes sense to you, live a righteous life for yourself, because when we pass on, we have to answer, I believe, for ourselves. There's no excuses. There's no evidentiary proof like I'm able to do in court. We have to understand what our principles are, what our values are, and live the best life that we can for each other, not just for ourselves, but for each other. And with that, this vibration of love, of the truth will permeate, and it will be healthy for all of us. So that's what I have to say. And thank you once again, and namaste.
All right. Pakshini, would you like to add to that? I see there's a question from Suraj Pandey. He asks, which judgment is Justice Langa quoted from? I think maybe, Salisha, you mentioned this about, can you advise us?
I'll do that after Pakshini.
Thank you, Salisha. Yeah. Well, just to, in terms of harmony and peace and how to live in harmony and peace, I believe South Africans, but for little hiccups here and there, we have been strongly adhering to the slogan that popularly is representing our country, that we have unity in our diversity. And further to that, as a Hindu and as my revered Swami Vivekananda has said, each soul is potentially divine. The Gita further goes on to speak that God dwells in the heart of all people. And if we treat people the way that we want to be treated, because the Gita further states that you must consider every living being as your own self, as being your own self. And we would want to be treated with love and respect. And it is our duty to treat others with love and respect. And if we do that, I believe that we can make it out of this Kali united and liberated.
Okay, thank you very much, Bakshini ji. Do you want to answer that question from Suraj Pandey regarding that?
So what I'll do I've got the entire citation. I don't have it on me now, so I'll put it on the comments column, if that's okay. It is a landmark, but the entire citation is a bit long, so I'll put it down. And I know Suraj, so I can also send it through to him.
All right. There's one question by Roshan Subran, our admin. What about Diwali and fireworks? Can you advise what the status is now about Diwali and fireworks? Are we, can we do fireworks on Diwali or not? Or is it only, follow the bylaws on certain times?
So Pakshini, do you want to go? And
Well, I do know that specifically with bylaws, you are expected to follow that. That is the law governing your specific community, your local government. Then it goes on to a provincial level, so on and so forth. So you are expected to follow those rules. There are fines that can be imposed should you not adhere to those rules. So it is strongly encouraged to follow those rules.
Sure. Just to support Pakshini is on that point, I find it very important that we have us as Hindus and our Hindu groups that put this forward. And like I spoke about education, the bylaws are there. Everybody is not running, it's not representative sometimes. So we do need to educate. We do need to put stuff forward timelessly because we do have to follow the laws, the different areas for various reasons. But I do think that what we could do better and a bit differently is perhaps try and get more united and send through applications and come together, whether it's in one area. It's people may not like what I'm saying, but we live in different in the diversity that is stated in the Constitution. So we do have to follow the the laws. But I think it'll also be great if we stand together as Hindus and put forth proposals that we would love to see that works for us. And I'm sure that those will be supported as well. So I think we need to take a bit of a stronger step and an earlier step to get that enforced and recognized.
Yes, thank you very much to both our very learned attorneys. We really appreciate your insight. I want to go on to the religious aspects with Kamalji. So I want to ask Kamalji, when we talk about tolerance, what is tolerance? How is, there's one verse in the Bhagavad Gita where Krishna talks that one must learn tolerance, tolerate your senses without being disturbed. Please incite us more on that.
Lakshbhai and our two beautiful speakers, our lawyers, tolerance and diversity are terms that refer to a way of thinking. And however, tolerance over a period of time has earned a very, very negative connotation. And it becomes such that I tolerate you and that's it, but I don't have to accept you, I don't have to understand you, and that's where the problem comes. It shouldn't be something that's just passive. It demands an active choice to reach out to the basis of mutual understanding and showing complete love to the other side. Especially when there are disagreements. Like, for example, we take the issue of youth sounds coming from various religious communities, whether it's the bell, the conch, the azan, and so on. Now, there has to be some dialogue between communities. There shouldn't be just this idea, and I know it's a bread and butter issue for the lawyers. Yeah, but there should be dialogue first. There should be some understanding. Not remember, these sounds are not equivalent to noise pollution. That is something different. Whereas there can be a win-win situation. Whereas a lawsuit can result in a win and a lose situation. And that creates animosity between communities. That creates confrontation. And we are now living in what has been emphasized by our ancient masters as Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, that the world is one family. Now, are we moving towards that? We need to start moving towards that, and we can build a society whereby, while we are different, it is okay, but there should be absolute love, understanding, agreeing to disagree over all matters. And if we can do that, I think we're going to build a society that is harmonious. And we can sit next to another person, even though they are very different. As our honorable, freedom fighter, ex-president, the honorable Mandela stated, that if you can learn to hate, you can learn to love. And this is something that we need to look at. Let us start working towards, something that I want to state, Laxmi. Uh, we need to teach our youngsters from a very young age how to act together as global citizens. We need to nurture an attitude of promoting cultural understanding, respect from all aspects, from the playground right to parliament. The problem is we get even the adults who are teaching negative attitude, and this filters down to the playground. We need to tackle growing inequality and reject social exclusion based on all aspects: gender, disabilities, race, religion, background. Now, this doesn't help us. It just helps to create bigger problems. And we are living through a period of global transition. And our rishis knew that long ago. This is why they came up with the concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. New centers of power and economic uh, powers are emerging. Technology is connecting us ever more closely. The internet has broken down barriers. It's an information age. No more now journalists can make us think the way they want, and push us in a particular direction, destroy people's culture. Now the internet, the social media is allowing a diverse number of views to come forward. So I am saying we need to realize this. So this does not mean that because of this interconnectedness via the internet, societies are becoming more diverse and more tolerant. That's not true. Actually, we're becoming more intolerant. And one of the reasons is the fear factor of losing your cultural heritage, of losing your identity. But that's not true, actually. It actually makes you stronger when you start to share and when you try to start to learn about your neighbor. It makes you a better person. You can actually become more grounded in your own cultural understanding vis-a-vis another person's culture. And you will also learn to appreciate that person's culture. There's some beautiful Hindu uh, uh, statements from the Vedas. Krinavanto Vishwamaryam. To make the world a noble place is the duty of all human beings.
Understood.
Then, sorry. Yes,
Uh, Sorry to stop you there. I just want to go through a few more questions, and we can
yes,
get a bit more detail if we have a little more time. I just want to ask you, you always talk about having a spiritual attitude. Now, with the spiritual attitude, how does one approach life in this diverse society?
when we feel that it's our duty to protect our religion, that creates another dimension altogether, because we are now feeling that it is my paramount duty to protect my religion. But the moment, that heavy burden should be removed from the shoulder. because my duty is to become the best possible human being, and that is having a spiritual approach to life. That approach means that I will use the teachings of my culture to improve and become better, while at the same time I am very aware about the space that should be allowed to others. The space that is being allowed to me should be allowed to others as well. I want to take this example of the agarbatti. In terms of the law of the states, remember one thing: you cannot infringe on your personal space. Where do you stop? If somebody is cooking something in the house and you get the smell, is that a problem? So I think when you infringe in the personal space, remember, individual rights overrides group rights. So you cannot say that now the corporate. I'm now also going to tell you what you can keep in your house and what you can't keep. So that's a huge aspect that we need to look at. The Constitution protects individual rights, and that is overrides group rights. And I think many of us sometimes don't realize this. So
Okay.
therefore, uh, when we approach, for example, now let's move on to the aspect of Deepavali. You'll notice that on New Year's Day or New Year's Eve, nobody is making a noise. On Guy Fawkes, everybody is quiet. But when it comes to Deepavali, that's when you find that there will be a certain section of the community who will start making noise about why there are fireworks. Now, when somebody is celebrating and having some entertainment, enjoyment, whether spiritual or not, it doesn't really matter. But the issue is, if they are not infringing on your rights, it's the bylaws say you can burst fireworks for 2 hours, and you find that the majority are maintaining that. Why make a big issue about it? Learn to accept and understand, just as much as you enjoy your life on different aspects and with different experiences, allow others the same opportunity. And I think this diversity that is bringing us together, that is creating this global village, this is where we need to start learning to share. We need to build what I'm going to use the word CBMs, confidence building measures, where we start to educate and let others understand the different diverse cultures. And when
Okay.
we do that, we actually build a very harmonious spiritual attitude that the country needs.
All right. You mentioned the agarbatti. Now, here in Africa, in South Africa, for example, you get the African traditional persons burning impepo. Now, that is a plant that is used by the traditional healers. It is used to purify the air and so forth, healing properties, etc. Now, what I understand, like in a Yajurved 2.22, it states that when you perform yajna and you offer ghee and samagri, then it generates certain things. Why is it important for Hindus to do havan, to burn lobhan, to burn incense, and so forth?
Let me look at this from a twofold perspective. Firstly, why Hindus need to do this, and why the tradition has come down. Secondly, why we need to educate those that may not understand why incense or agarbatti is lit, why they light loban. And remember, all these ingredients are natural ingredients. They have a positive effect on the environment. Now, with the virus moving around, they have been talking about how they're going to smoke areas out where the virus has been. But there they're using poisonous gas, something that may be harmful. Our ancient gurus had discovered the power of roots, grains, and various other ingredients that brought together, put into the havan, which has very powerful medicinal wood, and that special wood such as mango sticks, tulsi, people, and so on, actually helps us to us this greater opportunity to clean the atmosphere. Now, when people begin to realize the positive value of this, and that is why Hindus do this on a regular basis, the Laban helps to clear negative energies that may accumulate. It helps to clear our nostrils, strengthen the breathing, makes the atmosphere or the air more powerful. The germs are killed so that we are breathing good air. So there's a whole host of positive reasons as to why we do Havan, light Loban, light the Agarbatti. And as been stated earlier by Salisha ji, Salisha ji has been one of our star students in Vishwa Shakti many years, and she has enunciated this very well, that the agarbatti is made of natural ingredients. So what is the problem? It is, there is this fear that some very strange or voodoo type aspect is happening, but that doesn't happen. There's very positive mantras formulated to uplift the mind. Mantra itself means to free the mind. So, to this fear that exists has been promoted by a media, by certain missionaries to destroy cultures, and we know that. And in that way, they thought they could dominate the world, and this is what it is. Previously, it was a physical domination. Now, the domination is over the mind. And this is what we need to forget all that. And people need to start living together. And we must allow space. Otherwise, as we said, a person having a braai, that can be very disturbing to a vegetarian, can be very disturbing to a vegan. So what I feel is that if we can learn to realize that there is certain personal space, and when it is something that is harming the atmosphere, then that needs to be relooked at. Other than that, I feel the complaints is based on fear and prejudice.
Understood. All right. If we look at what is used in the oven, you get certain woods like hardwoods that cause less smoke and versus the softwoods. Can Hindus use certain woods that use less smoke, and even perhaps instead of buying the typical shop samagri like Khan samagri, there is a recommended mix for the samagri. What should be used and which causes less smoke?
Well, one of the things from my experience, I've been doing Pandita now for about 45 years. I found that mango sticks, fully dried, well maintained mango sticks, that's not moist, there is the least amount of smoke, and it is a recommended Havan wood. Far better than the wood that is sometimes sold in a shop, which is sometimes treated, which creates more smoke and negative vibes in the atmosphere. The air is very toxic. So we need to remember that as Hindus, when we're doing Havan, we should do Havan that is positive. The wood is important. Then the ingredients, one is herbal roots. You can even, not all the herbal roots are found. Tulsi, dried tulsi leaves or tulsi stick or the tulsi flower. And then we can move on to dried rose petals. Now, many people don't know this, that rose was first planted in India, and that's how it's spread to the rest of the world. It's a very powerful ingredient. Then there's there's gugal, which is a sap from the tree. Now, and of course, the various grains. We normally call these navdhan, the 9 different grains, till, which is sesame seed, barley, wheat, and so on, rice. These are put together. These are very powerful ingredients. When they mix together with ghee, which is clarified butter, and it has recently, science has found that clarified butter is a very powerful ingredient in having this curative, medicinal properties. Just like even hardi, if you want to even improve the samagri, hardi sticks are sometimes added. So loban, which is of course giving off very very powerful positive smell, in other words, a fragrance or an aroma. Now, aromatherapy is a big thing in the modern world. So this creates a positive aroma in the atmosphere. So when you get this aroma, it's actually good because it starts to clear the nostrils, clear the clutter that's in the mind, and it makes you feel good. It lifts the mind, because from time to time the clutter, the congestion in our body, in the lungs and the nostrils, creates us and makes us feel down, depressed, and so on. So the Havan has a very beautiful place in our lives.
All right. I want to ask you one issue that seems to concern everyone. Hindus definitely revere cows. And take, for example, in the African tradition, it involves offering chickens, goat, cows to the ancestors, traditional feasts, and so forth. So, how do we respond to these beliefs?
They again, we have to look at the diversity. I think everybody should be able to accept the differences, while at the same time you can place your view out there. Because let's take for example, if you are fasting and somebody is eating food, even though he's vegetarian, is that a problem? We need to reach a level where what is happening around us shouldn't affect us. And that is what the verse you spoke on, Lux. You must be able to control your senses: sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch. Now, if we can control those senses, we control our experience. And Krishna made this very clear in his Gita. So, if we can control our experience, then we can control our attitude to what's happening around the world. Everybody is going to develop. I'm not saying who's superior, who's inferior. That's not fair to be judgmental, because that is, everybody has their own, process of development or thinking. We should be allowed uh, to have our own space and our ability to grow while allowing people around us to grow as well. And if somebody, and this osmosis is taking place all the time, the sharing and feeding of these ideas. I know very often, sometimes one is called to conduct a puja where they may sacrifice an animal. And one of the ways we are able to work around that is we conduct the puja and we leave. And we tell them, listen, I cannot participate. I'm not saying whether I support or do not support. It is actually your perspective, and I'll leave it at that. And they would grow. As we said, every person will grow in their own space, in their own time. And
All
let's
right.
allow.
All right. I want to ask you about, when we cremate our Hindu bodies and we put the ashes into the water, that maybe some are concerned about water pollution. How should they deal or educate? How should we educate others about these rituals?
This is a very simple answer. Large masses of water can't get polluted with ashes or with anything that is biodegradable, not even flowing water. Where there is standing water, there is a small possibility. Like, but biodegradable stuff cannot pollute any vast areas of water. So when you put the ashes into the water, and we can even work around this. Specific areas, non-swimming areas, actually even better for those who immerse the ashes into the water, where we can have our private space, because before you know it, that ashes is dissolved and it disappears into the vast ocean. So it is only, once again, once they get some education that this is what happens, the ashes is not, firstly it's burnt. Fire destroys any disease, even if there was any, completely. That is why they were recommending during the coronavirus that we should rather cremate. And cremation is now the new buzzword for sending the mortal remains of our loved ones to to the atmosphere. And one of the methods is water. Of course, earth is another, and fire is the third one. But we use fire and water because the quickest and fastest. So fire first, and then into the water, where it disappears and there's no trace of that ashes, because the atma, the soul, continues on its journey. And one's focus is not on the physical frame, which was only there temporary for the soul to experience life. So
All right.
yes, definitely some education needs to be done as to how the ashes actually doesn't pollute the water masses or water
All right.
bodies.
Now, there's been a lot of these interfaith engagements. You always see them on TV and so forth. Now, has it actually helped to build any social cohesion, or has it just been lip service, and something that we just see as an event? Why is this not helped to reduce this intolerance or create education?
I had a very unfortunate incident regarding this so-called interfaith programs. Depends who is hosting this. There are some, they merely done to show how a particular culture is superior to others. If you're going with that attitude and not allowing everybody equal opportunity and space, then you're actually destroying the very purpose of interfaith dialogue. And this is has been a problem. Uh, there was one incident, in terms of our religion studies, where the different faiths were supposed to present, and I got information that, of course, although I am a key member of the working committee, I was not invited. But another person was invited, who was not of the Hindu faith, but played to be of the Hindu faith because of race. I said, I know Hinduism because I used to be a Hindu, which was rather, and went and created an extremely negative picture of Hindu Dharma at that interfaith program. And I was informed by a professor who was a follower of Buddhism. And he said, listen, you should take up the matter. And I did. And he said, listen, this is rather unfortunate. It was not truly, and I know Hinduism because I'm a Buddhist, and I know that they were saying everything wrong. So, if you go with agendas, Laxmi, if there are hidden agendas, we are just like, sometimes the press has been destroying the cultural diversity of our world. And journalists have their own agendas. They want us to think what they want. They need to get out of, we want the truth. We don't want lies. We don't want our perspective as well. We just want the truth. That is all. And
All right.
if we can get, that is why everybody needs to get involved in this process of interfaith dialogue. And it must be done with a pure heart and with the intention of building bridges, of
All
bringing
right.
people together.
All right, we have 5 minutes left, so I just want to address some very key concerns that were raised. Would you consider public expression of others' beliefs, the public expression of their beliefs, as a proselytizing attempt to convert Hindus?
Uh, Depends. You see, if you are running down and deliberately giving what we say misinformation, distorting the views of another particular culture or a particular belief system, then definitely your attempt is to convert. And because you want to destroy, and the agenda is to swell your numbers. But if your aim is only to place your view there in a very harmonious way, to show the beauty of a particular culture without harming other cultures. Remember, destroying other cultures, being rough, saying unsavory words against others is not the way of a true dharmic person. We need to move away. We don't, at the end of the day, confrontation will not allow us to move forward. However, I want to caution that doesn't mean we are tolerant of intolerance. Where there is intolerance or injustice, we must point that out, but we can do that in a very, very powerful, but in a manner that is dignified. We do not have to stoop down to the same level that that the intolerant person here has stooped down to. Otherwise, where does this all end? You can be as powerful and assertive and aggressive as much as you can in a very dignified way. And let me
All right.
tell you, the world will follow you. The same people, the good thinkers, they will always follow them. Those
All right.
that will be aggressive and negative will fall down the wayside.
All right. I just want to ask you: is there any recommendations you have, that for flats, complexes, estates, for what they need to consider, or should we make some kind of recommendations to the homeowners association? What should Hindus do to deal with these types of environments that we live in now?
I think one of the aspects is that we need to make some presentations. We can't, of course, visit every estate, but some multimedia presentations together with videos and written ones to explain the Hindu approach to its religious and spiritual life and how it doesn't infringe upon the rights of others. Also, the aspect from a legal perspective of your personal space, and pointing out the discrepancies that exist when you say that one person can't light an agarbatti, but you can have a bride. Your braai is just as sending off fumes, I would say, while agarbatti is sending nice aroma. But that is my choice of words. But
All right.
we need to understand. Therefore, let's say, let us go on a confidence building measure. I remember there was a case where the hospitals had just a prayer room for one particular faith group. And one of the organizations asked we could to come and make a presentation at Netcare. And I had to explain to them the purpose of having a space for Hindus as well, or even other religions that have been left out. And as Hindus, we always talk for everybody. We always global in our mind, in our thinking. But at the same time, we also made clear that when the Hindu needs some space as well, where they could pray, where they could find some solace while being at the hospital. And mind you, they now created prayer rules for Hindus in many of the Netcare hospitals. So the positive approach has a better effect.
All right. Thank you, Kamalji. I just want to, as we be running out of time now, I just want to leave two words there, which come from our Upanishads, Mahabharyas. Aham Brahmasmi and Tat Tvam Asi. If you go and study those two, you will know I am and you are. And it's much more than that if you need to understand that. So I'd like to hand over now to Kirit Bhai. Kirit Bhai, go ahead.
Namaste, Lakshmai ji. our very own Kamal Baiji. I heard all the time, but it was honor to listen you all the nicely the Amra, which is the mango woods we should start to use in the prayers, which is people across all the prayer shops should consider this one of the things which is our Guruji or Maharaj Kamal Bhaiji said. The legal side was so nicely put the points to the community, and as I said, and it was running under the banner where we said we gonna provide the platform where the all our Hindu come and speak about what is our rights and how together with unity we celebrate and all the festivals and bring more and more togetherness. It was very good show today, Lakshbai. Thanks to putting together to our Pakshini Ben Govender, to our Shalisha Ben Maharaj, and its majority was Pandit today because Maharaj, and Kirit by Maharaj too. But it's all about to reach out to the community. Once again, thanks from the Dharma Samvad team to all the our panelists and the same time to all the viewers. My namaste, pranam, and keep watching every Thursday. Some subject or some religious aspect we will come, and we keep, as Kamal Bhaiji said, these days social media or the media channel, they put your words in different way and then destroy the real truth. And therefore, me and the people like Lakshmaji or Gopal Bhai Guruji, we put this kind of platform where we said what we have to say and what is right, as per Vedas, as per the scriptures. See you next week Thursday. Namaste. Jai Shri Krishna.
Namaste.
Jai Shri Ram.
Dhanyavad. Jai Shri Krishna.
Jai Shri Krishna, Jai Shri Ram.